Hey everybody, welcome to the first ever mock draft of the 2022 NFL draft season. This is for the Broken Skull Football League, the Dynasty League I'm in. So if you are a random stranger watching this, welcome. We appreciate it. Most of this information won't pertain to you at all, but like if you're looking for a just another league to bounce ideas off of, or to hear some of my very minuscule analysis of some of these players, you know, have a listen. So we're gonna get straight into it. No, don't want to do that. Give me 1 second, y'all. Sorry, I should have been more prepared. All right, should be good. And here we go. So, like I said, welcome. This will be probably the first of two that I do. I'll probably do one post-draft. I'm doing this 2 days before the actual NFL draft, and we still know nothing about really anything that's going on. And that's very exciting. But regardless, we'll get into it with just first the breakdown of some of our rosters, just an overview. I somewhat based it the team decisions off team need, but mostly when plus player available. Just depends, that's how NFL teams do, a little hybrid of both. So like my roster, for instance, like I'm number one at everything except, running back. And so you'll see I went kind of deep into that position for myself. And like, Timmy could desperately use a tight end, but unfortunately, where he's picking, there's not really any worth taking. So it's one of those things you're not doing just for need, but factoring positional value and Timmy's natty daddy. You're factoring positional value and just the talent pool. And we'll get into that more so, but this is where Dynasty Nerds rankings come into play. And obviously they aren't perfect, but they are some sort of consensus ranking to where we can get an idea of generally our players and how they're accepted. So with the first pick in the BSFL draft rather, the Cold Stone Cream Austin will be selecting, and unless he goes to a really bad landing spot, like I will bet any money this is the pick. And it's Brees Hall. Much of a surprise? I don't think so. Now you look at the guy, he's super explosive. Extremely explosive. Comes in there, excellent vision. Catch the ball off the backfield. Make guys miss, easy. Look at my stats on him now. Just plays astronomical in like next gen stats. Really every category he's like upper tier in. He compares somewhat to Matt Forte. Brees Hall is 5'11", 217 pounds. He's pretty much that ideal size that you're looking for. The Javonte Williamses, the Najee Harris, those kind of guys. He's right there with them, and he's just capable of such athleticism too. Hard to miss on him. So second pick overall is where it starts to get a little interesting. Number one's easy. 2. Come on, thing load. 2, I went Garrett Wilson here. Rocco could kind of use a little everything. And I think Garrett Wilson is the best overall skill position player in the draft. Like, I think he could go as high as 4 to the New York Jets. And, I don't see him falling past like Houston's second pick at 13. So like, this is like the highest floor as far as draft capital goes. But you look at him, he's like probably the most polished route runner in the entire class. Comes in here, super explosive, runs a 4.38, which is kind of up to par to a little above average for what you're looking for out of a starting alpha wide receiver. You know, you're looking at again, sort of similar to Brees Hall, just aces every category you can imagine: touchdowns, receiving. He's 6 foot 183, so a little on the undersized route, but you'd look at that stiff arm right there. He uses his power very effectively. So he compares somewhat to Stephon Diggs. Like, I just see this like Justin Jefferson, that type of player out of Garrett Wilson. And I think it's like, no matter how much you might need a running back, like you can't pass up, like, I think a player like this here at number 2. So going to number 3, we have Kenneth Walker going to Natty Daddy. Like the graphic showed, he needed a running back desperately, so we're going to get him one. The Clyde Edwards-Helaire thing when he picked first overall a couple of years ago, not really working out at all. Man, I almost gave a lot to trade up for CEH. So, but Kenneth Walker, he's a transfer from Wake Forest, I believe. He's 5'9", 211. Really, he's everything you want as a running back, I'll say that, but he just offers, or at least he hasn't shown in college, too much of the pass catching ability. Apparently that's just because they didn't ask him to do that. But like, over 12 games played last year, 13 catches, not a strong sample size to really go off of. He compares somewhat to Willie Parker and Sony Michel. And he had a 50.2% college dominator, which really is like how much of the offense goes through you. And 50% of the offense, that's damn solid. So I think the highest grade in the entire class, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it is. So this is a guy that can command a backfield. It's a guy that can run through tackles. It's great vision. Like, hard to hate this guy. It's him and Brees are my top 2 running backs by a large margin. Number 3 is a decent distance away. So number 4, I got Weber 316 selecting Chris Olave out of Ohio State. He's a player that, like, he's not quite the polished route runner that his teammate Garrett Wilson is, but what to get from him, he's he plays a lot faster. Still, a great route runner. Still able to make guys miss in the open field. You're still able to really mold an offense around him. He might not. Well, I'll say this: you might not be able to do that. It just depends on kind of where he's going. Like, I think he could be a stud in New Orleans. Like, give Jameis, Michael Thomas, and him, and they'll both benefit tremendously. I don't know if he can carry it, but like, at the same time, like, he could be like the leading receiver for whoever drafts him, statistic wise, any given game. So, you take at 4 overall, like, a guy that's capable of doing such things. I think you take a chance on that. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're hard to ask for much more out of Garrett Wilson than what you get here. I'm starting to pull up the stats, and my computer was being dumb. 6 foot 187. So again, on the undersized side, like Garrett Wilson is. Compares somewhat to like a Emmanuel Sanders, Calvin Ridley type. Much more statistically relevant. Didn't quite get to 1,000 yards this year, but always has big time receiving stats every game. So yeah, hard to miss on a player like Chris Olave, who's experienced. and will probably be in that late teens area of the draft, maybe earlier. Yeah, so he'll go to a halfway decent team. It's not like going to be a really bad situation. So we'll see. Okay, we're good. So with my pick, I am doing something I contradict myself a little bit here, but hear me out. Yeah, Isaiah Spiller. I'm not happy about it, but I need a running back, and he is the consensus third guy. And a lot of this thing with a lot of running backs in this class, I have a lot going in the second round here. Spoiler alert. Um, you just don't know who's going where. Like some of these guys could be second rounders, some of these guys could be fifth, sixth rounders. It's really hard to tell at this point. Only so many teams need them or want them. And yeah, so this could change dramatically, but like I'm really just targeting a third like this running back that's behind, the Walker Brees Hall train. And right now I think that will be Isaiah Spiller. I'm not crazy about him. And it's not because like, he's that bad of a player or anything. You clearly see is, great catching the ball out the backfield. It's just like he just lacks the explosion to really do much more than like go through the hole and get 3 yards. I mean, he's about to, score a touchdown here, I think. But, this is against New Mexico. Again, like you have to kind of um take your battles where you can, but like he, comes out, runs a 4.63 40. Not very good. And his running stats are all pretty middling. They're at average, but like you want a little more out of an average player. But at the same time, the vision's good, and he has those great receiving traits, and he does have some level of explosion. He just doesn't present those elite athletic traits that some of these other guys do. So he compares to Rashad Penny, Marlon Mack a bit, that kind of player. So I mean, like I said, not in love with Isaiah Spiller, but yeah, potentially based on draft capital, I might be. And he's the best bet, at least right now, to do that. So 6 overall, kind of going best available player with Pele. In my opinion, that's going to be Jameson Williams. He's the number 1 receiver on a lot of the team's draft boards. I know that for a fact. He's the speedster in the draft. You kind of have one of these guys every year. You think Jalen Waddles, your Henry Ruggs is. I think Jameson compares a little more toward a Waddle than any of those other guys, but he didn't obviously run a 40 because the reason he's such a enigma among the draft community is, of course, he tore his ACL in the national championship game. But that's a recoverable injury now. But like in the season, it's almost 1,600 yards receiving, over 15 games, so over 100 yards a game, 15 touchdowns, so averaging 1 a game. And he is comparing a lot to those like speedster types, like Deshaun Jackson, Will Fuller, Mike Wallace, if you want to say that. And you can kind of make him do a little everything. You can have him do those end arounds. You can have him, just go deep every play. And it's not like he's a John Ross who can just run deep, but he has some physicality to his game too. I mean, granted, he did have to transfer out of Ohio State because of like Olave and Garrett Wilson being there, but like, he comes into the biggest program in college football, absolutely dominates, puts the offense through him, and makes Bryce Young look, the Heisman Trophy winner. So hard to go wrong with Jameson Williams here. Pick 7. I have Jason up on the clock again, going with Treylon Burks. And he could be a lot of things. He could be Laviska Shenault, but at the same time, he could maybe be a like AJ Brown, a Deebo Samuel, a Josh Gordon. Like there's so many outcomes with him. Only thing he just, and I venture to say on the lesser end of that, only just because I just was not impressed with the athletic testing. You know, he runs 4.55, which, like, with the analytics I use, like, I do not consider you if you ran like less than, or like if you ran over a 4.55. So he like just barely met that threshold for me. And but like, you know, he's productive still. He's, you know, 1,200 yards last year, averaging a touchdown a game. Highest college dominator rating of all the receivers in the class. Like they ran him, like he did play this Deebo Samuel role in the Arkansas offense. And you know, if San Francisco is able to get like a first rounder this year for Deebo, like Treylon is faults up this draft board. Like, you know, they're going to use him just like that. And but at the same time, just it depends really on situation with Treylon. Like he could be a lot of things. And you know, at one time he was considered the first overall pick in rookie drafts, and you know, because of this athletic testing, he goes down a bit, but you still see these traits, and you want to take a chance on a guy who can, you know, make those contested catches, can, you know, out physical anybody, has enough speed, and is super versatile. So round out the first round, we got a guy that I don't care for much at all, but who was ultra productive. And that's Drake London. Some Dynasty rookie mock drafts have him going top 3 pretty consistently. I don't care for him all that much. And, you know, mostly because I just see the trends. I see all this stuff, and he just reminds me too much of those Kevin Whites, those JJ Arcega-Whitesides, those N'Keal Harrys, those. And every time you hear in draft analysis, it's the Mel Kipers, it's all these people saying, "Oh, this is the big jump ball receiver that you need in your offense." Okay, that was my really bad Mel Kiper impression. And you know, you watch him, and you know the highlights are impressive enough, and that's it. He was like very productive, like 136 yards a game, compares to like Michael Thomas, Mike Evans, Kenny Galladay, Michael Floyd. But like, how many of those players have also been compared to some of those pretty meh players, to bad players that I mentioned like a minute ago? So, you know, back it up a little bit. He is about, you know, that's this 6'5" jump ball type who, you know, has a little route running ability. It's not like he's just some tight end on the field. I mean, look at that tongue thing he just did. That's a crazy man right there. So like, I like players that can get open with the route running. I don't want to have my quarterback just pray that he's going to come down with it. And I mean, he does quite a bit, but like, that's not going to win you all the time. Like, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm just not. It's not a big fan, but like the tools are impressive, and he's going to be a high pick. Like, he's going top 15, I believe. So just with that draft capital alone, and just the tools that are there, like at 8, you take that chance. We go to pick 9. We got Natty Daddy up again. This time I have him, you know, reviving the receiving core a little bit and going Jahan Dotson. This is the first player I really looked at in this class. I just happened to be watching the Ohio State Penn State game this year, and yes, he just really popped to me. Um, he is a 6 foot, or sorry, 5'10", 178, so a little smaller, but again, this college production profile, 44.3% of the offense, or sorry, 32.5% of the targets going to him directly. 1,200 yards, 13 touchdowns. Like despite his, slightly smaller size, like he's able to, win off route running. He's able to, make these acrobatic catches. Um, really, it's just he's not this, ex receiver that's able to really be that, like, you don't want him as your number one receiver, but he's a really good two. And this draft is full of these kinds of guys. And I think like some of these late first, early second round teams, um, yeah, it just kind of depends on landing spot. He's either gonna be asked to be like he's gonna be asked to be a role player, or he's gonna be asked to be the guy. And either way, you're kind of, you're looking at yourself like, okay, he can't be the alpha, but at the same time, those targets are nice. At the same time, role player on a good team, he could thrive, but also he's not getting the targets. One of those things, but like he has shown he could dominate. Just I don't know if he'll be that at the NFL level. But again, at 9, like he's a great player. I mean, a guy you can kind of trust to, to get open down the field that can, just win single coverage. And even do a little quarterbacking. Why not? So go pick 10. We got a similar player, I'd like to say, in Sky Moore, out of Western Michigan. Yeah, so this will be part of the draft where I start to do some smaller school guys, but Sky Moore, he is, ran 4.41 140. He is 5'10", 195 pounds. Again, ultra productive, granted in the MAC, but still, like, the MAC is no joke, man. Gotta love some action. Sorry, what was it? Oh, Sky Moore. Yeah. He compares somewhat to a Darnell Mooney or Steve Smith. Oh, I forgot to mention my comp for Dotson. See a lot of Doug Baldwin with him, but yeah, Sky Moore, like he's just like, again, a crafty route runner type. I hate that his number, like 24 is just an ugly receiver number. But like despite not being a big guy, he's able to make these seal body corners up, break routes like this, make that catch. 1,300 yards, 10 touchdowns over 12 games. Commanded a large chunk, 40% of the target share for Western Michigan, in which you're kind of hoping to see that for a slightly smaller school guy. If you're considering, if you're considering him like NFL teams are in the late first, early second round. So, you like what you see there. And honestly, just again, with a lot of these guys, it depends on landing spot. So I guess my 2 cents on Sky Moore. But 11th pick, little change up. I got Malik Willis. So I normally don't have quarterbacks going this high, but the class, it just isn't that deep. And also the quarterback class could be, in my opinion, is just very, as far for fantasy purposes, like you're always looking for that scrambler type that can, has the big arm, can, throw for 400 yards and rush for, 100 or so more a game. And there's none of the other big five quarterback, none of the other big six quarterbacks in the draft can really say they have the traits that Malik Willis does. Malik Willis, I mean, he could be, you know, he does have that potential to not be a elite quarterback and worthy of the 11th pick. But at the same time, like, you know, he has the twitchiness of like a Jalen Hurts, but the arm of um, I don't want to say, like, let's say Matt Stafford. Like, he doesn't have the Justin Herbert, like Josh Allen type arm, but like, you know, you love the deep ball accuracy, or you love the deep ball. It's really just the accuracy and decision making being the biggest concern, and those are very valid. Like, there's reasons he's not, you know, being considered in the top 10 more often than not, eh, except occasionally in some Panthers mocks, but it's about it you'll see from him in the top 10, other than the Steelers maybe trading up. We'll see what happens though. And, you know, you look at him, and like I said, just he's so different than these other quarterbacks in the draft that don't really have the scrambling ability, other than maybe Sam Howell, but then he doesn't have quite the arm strength, and he's just not the threat that Malik Willis is in that regard. And he's a leader. He's a good guy. Probably be highly drafted. He's gonna be the dude somewhere at some point. So pick 11. You're kind of just basing it off of, you know, the strength of the position and how you rank this guy compared to the rest of the talent pool. And yeah, that's about it. So 12th. So Zamir White, gotta admit, I haven't watched too much of him, but he carried a lot of Georgia this year. And I say carried because it's more so like he was the power back in the Georgia offense. But it's not like he was slow either. He ran a 4.4 at the combine. Um, Profile similar to like a Lamar Miller, Damian Harris type. So he's not like the super explosive guy, but he's not like a, you know, Bo Scarborough, like, ooh, I only run up the middle. But no, he's solid all around back. 5'11, 214. So actually a little undersized, but they use him as power back. Stats wise, not going to blow you away whatsoever. He only averaged about, um, 5 yards to carry, which, you know, sounds amazing, but like in college, like some of the elite ones are closer to 7. It only had a, you know, college dominator rating of 20%, which, like I said earlier, with like Kenneth Walker doing a 50, and granted, like Georgia did win the national championship for a reason. They had a lot more guys, but like, and like I said, the running back position earlier, like Zamir White, for all we know, could be a 4th round pick, 5th round pick. Probably not 5th rounder, but like a late 3rd, 4th. But, you know, you look at him and you like the traits. It's just, you know, really get the draft capital, and really get put in position enough to really actually maximize his carries to, you know, be fantasy relevant, and potentially that, you know, I see it. Like, he has the traits, and I think he'll be a good player. Just depends where he goes. And 13th, we got his teammate James Cook, brother of Dalvin Cook. I figured it'd be appropriate to put him on Weber 316 with Dalvin. I think that could be kind of fun. And he's the kind of running back I think Jason likes a lot, just with you know, seeing some of his teams over the years. Absolutely loving the receiving back role, which that's James Cook. If you love a receiving back, James Cook is your dude. Compares to like a Andre Ellington, Matt Breida, James White, some of these types of guys. Again, he say he's receiving back because like amongst all running backs, he led them in the percentage of their touches that were catches at 20%. Like he only had like 700 some rushing yards over 15 games, which like isn't great. But like in the receiving game, 284 yards off of 27, 284 yards off of 27 catches. So like that's over 10 yards a catch. Like you'll take that for sure. And yeah, in the open field, he's great. It's just he's not a between the tackles runner. Um, he's only, and that's partly because just his body. He's just not as big as Dalvin. Dalvin's at like 215 range. James Cook's like 190 pounds. But like, he's 5'11", so it's just one of those things. Like you want more weight on him to like if he did have more weight, he's a top 5 pick in this. It's just he doesn't, and again, draft capital, we'll see. And me, I am gonna take a risk here on getting to the Missouri Valley Conference. Got Pierre Strong, who he is just he is so fun to watch. It's like Diet LaShawn McCoy. It's just like he has super good vision, just bounces people off him consistently. Again, granted, this is the Mountain West Conference. I understand that. But like we've had some, good players come out of this conference before. North Dakota State. They're a fine team. But Pierre Strong's making them look making them look silly out there. And Pierre Strong, you got a guy who is 5'11", 207 pounds, and through 15 games ran 800, or through 15 games put up a total yardage, receiving and rushing combined of 1,800 yards. Like absolutely dominating like every statistical category for running backs. Again, granted in the Mountain West Conference, but like you can't deny these stats. And you look at the tape, and he's just able to catch the ball out of the backfield. He has this great vision. It's just like how much is he going to get discounted as a slightly older running back? Because like let's face it, you don't get the if when you're in a conference this small, you usually aren't coming out early. So he's gonna have a limited shelf life, but like he has potential to really be something if he goes to the right place. And I'm excited for him. So 15th, we got we're going up north a little bit, staying in the Mountain West Conference, but headed to the northern part of the Dakotas instead of the southern part. And I said southern part. And Christian Watson, he's the guy that made Trey Lance look much better than he is. I mean, we'll see. Jury's still on Trey Lance. But yeah, Christian Watson, one of the biggest draft risers through the pre-draft process, was like the guy at the Senior Bowl, standout, big standout at the Senior Bowl. 4.36 40. Again, just dominating most of the statistical categories against the rest of the position. Low breakout age. Devontae Parker, Dontrell Inman types are comparisons he gets. And almost half the offense going through him. Oh, Youngstown State, let's go. Yeah. Man, I work there. Man, just being torched out there. See what Christian Watson could do to YSU. Like, no, he's not gonna do that against like the 49ers or whoever. But like, he's athletic enough. He's it's kind of able to do a little bit of everything. And he could potentially be a first round pick this year. Kind of crazy coming out of a small school like this, but like he could be that guy. And he's 6'4", 211, so on the smaller end, but he does have a big frame, and I love the athleticism. He could be something. I mean, just like he just moves so fast. Like even though he's not like this twitchy kind of fast, he just like flows. He's that kind of speed, and Johnny could use a guy with some flow. Yeah. So pick 16, got the first tight end coming off the board, Trey McBride. Tim is loaded at tight end already, but at this point it becomes almost the best player available thing. Maybe he barters, probably not Waller, maybe Hawkinson. Yeah, makes a big trade. Because Trey McBride is this this draft is deep at tight end, but it's not like top heavy at all. So you're not gonna see more than maybe two come up in the first or second round. You're not gonna see any in the first round. And you might see maybe Trey McBride in the second, but that's it. But third, fourth, fifth round, you're gonna see a good amount of tight ends. And Trey McBride, the reason he is that considered is because he's kind of a perfect blend of everything. Like he can block well, makes contested catches. He can get open in the middle of the field. He's, fast enough. He's kind of everything you want. He's not this absolute burner, but like there's nothing you really see wrong about him. It's just he's not really elite either. He's no Kyle Pitts. No one is, but he didn't run to 40, so unfortunately I don't have that stat for you. But like he, as a tight end, he put up like he was 46.3% of Colorado State's offense last year. Which, I mean, Colorado State isn't like the elite of elite schools by any means, but like it's still pretty good school. He only had 2 touchdowns, but he also led all of tight ends in receptions for at least the major draft eligible players with 91 over 12 games and almost 1,200 yards. So 100 yards a game, like you like what he could do, and he could really develop into something, I think, in most schemes. So pick 17, final pick of this mock. I have Jason going back to the receiver pool, taking George Pickens. I just thought he couldn't slide much more than this. And he's a player I've never quite got some people like absolutely love him. Like he's a first round pick. And more often than not, he's a second round pick, which like I think he's closer to a third than he is a first. But still a second round pick regardless. But he's a good player, and to me, there's just a couple things I don't like about him. One is some of the injury concerns. Like he only played in 1 or 2 games last year, I think. Hasn't really had a super productive full season since 2019. Ran a 4.47, so like he's slightly above that threshold of kind of where I see guys. But like in 2020, had like 36 catches through 8 games, 513 yards. But he's more of this just big play guy who can I don't know particularly what he's good at. I watch him and like, okay, is he I don't know if he's this guy who kind of gets reluctantly open down the field, because I don't think he's a particularly great route runner, but he's not a burner either, and he's not this like jump ball receiver. He's just kind of a mixture of everything. And I see the Michael Gallup comparison sometimes, and I could kind of see that. I just don't quite understand the hype, but that's me, and I hope he proves me wrong. But I thought letting him slide past this point was, was just kind of criminal, and I had some opinions on him, so I'm like, I'll throw him in the last pick. So that'll do it for the rest of this mock. I have some I have a few other players just to highlight real quick, the best of the rest, if you will. So some of the notables heading to round 3, you got every other quarterback. It's just super landing spot dependent. Like some of these guys are going to come in, they're going to be backups for a couple years. Some of these guys might be immediate starters. Like every NFL team right now has a guy that like is either an established starter or young enough to not quite be a fully fledged like Andy Dalton with the Bears last year. You kind of knew they were looking at quarterback, but and the only spots you really get that with this year are like Carolina, maybe Atlanta, Seattle, and like Pittsburgh. There's only so many of these guys, and none of them are like uberly talented. And because of that, they might not all be, they're more than likely not all going to be first round picks, and you're going to get some in the second round, and then the buy-ins, like not like for a second, third round pick, like there's less pressure to put them on the field compared to a guy you're drafting in the first round. This is the way it is. And so, the Kenny Pickett's, Matt Corrals, these pocket passer types are, really just like I have to find their way. Sam Howell, like I alluded to earlier, I think is the second most upside behind Malik. Desmond Ridder, I'm not a particular fan of at all. He's just, he's a winner. I don't get it from a talent standpoint. And Carson Strong is probably my third quarterback. No one talks about him. But had he not had this really bad knee injury a few years ago that might have irreversible damage, he might be the best quarterback in this draft. Arm talent wise, he might have the best. Again, he's just this pocket passer though, so you have that. But he could throw it, he could sling it, man, wherever. Yeah, a few others, like Rashad White, again, sort of like Zamir White earlier. I don't know where he could range anywhere from the 3rd to the 5th round and end up in a landing spot that's just absolutely horrible and might never see the field in significant ways. That's the same way with Damian Pierce and Jerome Ford. All of them, I think, are fairly talented. It's just landing spot. Like I said, David Bell used to get a lot of hype, like Dynasty first round hype. Then he comes out, runs let me get this, 4.65 40, which not good at all. Not good. But he had this early breakout age. He got a decent amount of, 120 yards a game on average for Purdue. He'll still be a 3rd or 2nd round pick. It's just the athletic upside just isn't there. Alec Pierce, the upside is there. He just doesn't possess a lot in terms of athleticism. Or I'm sorry, reverse that. He presents a good amount of athleticism, runs 4.4 40, 40.5 vert. Just the yardage, even in Cincinnati where they had this huge season, only just under 900 yards last year through 14 games. We kind of export more, but I also think Desmond Ridder might not have been the guy to get it to him. So it could be that. Justin Ross, he was in 2019, I remember him being a top 5 pick caliber player in the NFL draft. And then just over years, some injuries, and now he's more of a 3rd, 4th round type. He just hasn't quite looked the same since Trevor left. I still think there's something with him to him. Then Jelani Woods, he's just this huge 6'7", I think, tight end. At Virginia, moves really well. 6'7", 265. excellent like athleticism scores, um, tested really well, and statistically just really good. So yeah, I think he'd go third round for sure, and come in and be a team's maybe number one, probably number two tight end, and yeah, have some success. So that's about it. Um, that's about it for my dynasty mock draft. But I did do this like regular NFL draft today since it is 2 days away, and this is my first and only mock draft I'll put out to the public. So this is that. If you wanted to take a quick look, I'm not going to break it down, but this is kind of where I'm thinking some of the things happen. I did do trades. Um, yeah, some of it's a little like kind of all over the place, but I think it's somewhat realistic. So again, let me know what you guys think about all this, and thanks for watching.